Greetings, insiders. It's March 20th, and I have another great marketing story you need to know. This week, I have your NewFronts survival guide. Whether you're going to be on the ground at the NewFronts next week or wondering why the hell that even matters, my guests today break down the major trends defining tech and media in 2026 and the questions that they're looking to have answered by the likes of YouTube, Meta, TikTok, or Tubi at next week's festivities. This is Ad Age Insider, where I'm taking you behind the scenes of the industry's biggest stories with the reporters who actually wrote them. I'm your host, Parker Heron. Make sure to hit like and subscribe to Ad Age wherever you're watching right now so that you're never behind on industry news. So if you don't know what the NewFronts are, it's a week of presentations and parties featuring the major digital media companies. That ranges from Google to LinkedIn to Samsung's TV operating system and even Albertsons Retail Media Group. They're all trying to launch new products, brag about how much better they are than everyone else, and most importantly, wine and dine brand marketers and media buyers for their ad dollars. It's basically who can make the most noise competition, but behind it all, it can be actually pretty revealing about what those companies are prioritizing for their businesses and what they are trying to avoid talking about, and generally just the trends that will define how ads are served over the next year. Today, we have a whole panel of guests who are going to break the whole shebang down for us, and who will all be on the ground at the NewFronts next week, so say hi to them if you see them. Let's have a round of applause for Garett Sloane, Senior Technology Editor, Gillian Follett, Creator and Social Media Reporter, and Brandon Doerrer, Media and Creativity Innovation Reporter. Garett, Gillian, Brandon, I'm so thrilled to have this amazing group on the pod today.
Thanks for
Hi,
having us.
Parker.
Hello.
I am so excited. Next week is, I'm sure the thrill of every brand and media leader's calendar. The IAB NewFronts are getting kicked off this year earlier than ever before. I want to hear about what y'all will be looking for on the ground next week. But first, I wondered a little bigger picture. Y'all have the privilege of being in the room of these flashy presentations. Probably many of our listeners might be as well. But if you're not, if you're like me, one of the plebs, at home wishing I was there, why should people care about the NewFronts? Is there anything we should be watching about the NewFronts that might reveal something bigger about what's going on in the industry right now?
I could jump in there, Parker. NewFront's been going to them for probably a decade now. And I think it's just a time where we just talk to like Meta, TikTok, Google, these digital platforms about what's coming up, ad products, ad tech, creators, as Jillian has seen focused on for the last couple of years. And I think the conversation at NewFronts has changed too over the years that I've been covering it. It was one time back in the day, it was probably more like Condé Nast and Hearst and these publications or like creator networks that were big back in the day. And those are not quite the focus anymore. Now it's more like TikTok or even Yahoo or Tubi streaming TV. So it's evolved and it changes constantly. So each year is sort of a different flavor. And I think that this year has shown that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think people who are not going in person, like the biggest thing you miss out on obviously is the chance to speak to these platforms, right? Interrogate them about the tech that they're talking about in their presentations. But you do still kind of get what we're trying to get, I think, out of going next week is like identifying some of these broader trends. What is coming up? What's next in digital marketing? What is some of the ad tech that's coming out? We forecasts are still getting updated, but ad revenue is actually like growing as the year continues, and obviously like digital dominates a lot of those budgets. So it's just a good opportunity to see like where most of the money is going. Kind of just get like a big broad look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna say sort of similar to what Brandon was saying. I think like even if you're not there, like you can kind of get a sense of like what some of the priorities are for advertisers. Like I think it's gonna be a lot of again creators and a lot of like these AI functionalities and tools that the platforms are all kind of rolling out. So I mean that's kind of like the trends of advertising right now too. So I think that will show up as well in these presentations next week.
There's going to be
Yeah.
so much AI.
Let's not
So
spoil
much.
AI yet. Well,
Oh, sorry, that's your territory. I don't want to step on your toes.
yeah, that's going to be the shocking reveal.
Well, I think we can maybe creep into it a little bit. And Garrett, you spoiled my next question a little bit in your last answer, but I'm wondering, for everyone who may be on the ground or not, what are we thinking this year, NewFronts 2026 will hold that maybe NewFronts 2025 didn't? What are the things you have your eye on? Garrett, we can start with you since you wrote a gorgeous curtain raiser on the NewFronts for adage.com.
I think last year was a change because AI did become so much part of the conversation. And like you're talking about agentic AI, how it's in the ad platforms. You're talking like, I'm a media planner. I'm going to this platform to talk to them about how I use their tools. And it's all like you're talking to ChatGPT now. So if you're a digital ad buyer, you're doing natural language prompting to find audiences, to put in your media strategy, to find channels to get your ads into. And so that's really what it started a lot last year. Google talked about it in their DV360 platform, and Meta has talked about its Advantage Plus. So these automated AI campaigns were starting last year. And this year, I think it's just more of that, but also like, did this come to fruition? Are people using these tools yet? We saw them talked about, but are they being used? That's one thing. Some people were talking in my preview story, TV 3.0, which is these creator channels. Are you on Tubi and you're watching Mr. Beast or even more niche creators? So I'll be interested in that sort of content.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, though, that like last year, maybe we heard about some of these new ad industry things, these obsessions. And this year, maybe we're hoping for a few proof points on if it's actually moving the needle on business. Brandon, Gillian, do y'all have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not necessarily going to be a new thing, but kind of similar to what Garrett was saying, I think creators will continue to be probably even more of a focus at NewFront presentations this year. Last year, like pretty much all the social platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, they like all had creators out on the stage like talking about some of these tools, which is kind of interesting. Meta had like a Jeopardy style kind of game show with some of the creators like talking about the new creator partnership tools on the platform. So I definitely think creators will continue to be a major focus of the presentations. And I also think maybe something new this year might be the fact that creator content is sort of increasingly like kind of like you were saying, Garrett, like the TV 3.0 or CTV 3.0. Creators are sort of the new place that people are turning to for entertainment a lot more than sort of the traditional streamers. I know, like you mentioned, Tubi. Tubi is announcing, or they just announced a partnership with TikTok that will involve TikTok kind of sourcing creators to them to produce content for Tubi. And I think they're going to probably make that a focus of their presentation. So sort of that theme of how brands can kind of tap into this new era of entertainment that's led by creators, I think will be more of a focus this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as much as I would love to see stuff that was introduced last year, like reflected on and talked about and see some like performance, because I think we are desperately in need of some of that conversation. I do suspect we are going to get more conversations about new things that also do not have huge proof of performance. I think agentic AI is like especially, when I talk to buyers about like what type of tech they're really excited about. And I actually did a story about like Q2 investment trends. And one of the things that came up from a few different buyers was that stuff like Meta's Manus. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just realizing it's probably Manus, right?
I think so. Manus, yeah.
Manus.
Justice for Manus, though. I'm into
Manus.
I like
that.
Manus. It sounds more exotic.
It's, these platform specific AI agents, assistants, kind of right now, products like that really are only effective for analyzing campaigns, analyzing campaign performance. I think with Menace in particular, buyers are really excited about the idea of being able to compare the performance of their ads to competitors on the same platform. But there is a lot of like hope and expectations that these tools get better and better, and they can kind of be this like all-in-one suite for automating platform-specific marketing, like through and through. So I suspect we will see more stuff like that again does not fully they're not fully realizing their potential or promises yet, but we're sure going to see them in the presentations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of like with NewFronts. It's like ad tech that comes and goes, and you may not. Oh, it was just an ad product that floated for a bit and didn't take off, but some of it sticks.
Yeah. Brandon, I want to circle back to what you were saying just a second, but Garrett, quickly pulling on the thread you're pointing at, this year the new fronts are much earlier than they usually are. Typically, they were like a week for new fronts, maybe a week off, and then a week for the TV upfronts, which are still going to be in May like they usually are. But my understanding is that the new fronts are earlier this year because that time of year was getting very crowded and New Fronts wanted to hold its own space on the calendar. Is the topic of the New Fronts and the Upfronts further apart? I feel like they used to just be a programming showcase for everything, and now it feels like, the TV companies are even splitting off showing content in the Upfronts versus showing their tech wares elsewhere. Like, are the New Fronts becoming something different than what they were before, which felt like a runoff of the Upfronts?
I'll validate you. Yeah, you definitely are right, Parker. Like Comcast is at the NewFront, Peacock at the Upfronts, Tubi is at the NewFronts, Fox at the Upfronts. So there's some YouTube is on all of them and everywhere, but you can't escape them. So there's a distinction happening, and more about digital media in the new fronts being about ad tech, getting advantages where you can in like data and commerce and retail media. And I guess creators are always the big content just show of new fronts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I want to go back to what I was going to ask earlier, and then I just had to go off the cuff to get that juice from you, Garrett. But Brandon, you mentioned like having questions about the performance of some of these tools that have shown up, and your fear that maybe we won't be getting those answers. So I would like to hear from all of you, like, what is your biggest question that you're looking to have answered at the new fronts? Is there anything that, like, if you had the chance to grill the, top brass of these companies about, you would love to know on the other side of next week?
I'm kind of
Gillian?
similarly curious about like the effectiveness and like how many brands are actually using some of these creator tools that have been announced at the New Friends over the last couple of years. I know like a big theme last year was like TikTok, Meta, YouTube, all kind of like positioning their platforms as like brands way into culture by kind of running content alongside creator content on the platform. And like I know YouTube has been kind of like building out their sort of like own creator partnerships kind of hub or tool for brands. And I'm curious like if brands are kind of actually using those or if they're still kind of using their agency partners or like doing it in-house. Like it seems like these platforms are all kind of building out their own creator capabilities or trying to. I'm wondering if that's something that is actually being utilized by advertisers.
So I want to move a little bit further away from the actual presentations and presenters and presenteur.
Ooh.
Why did I say it like that?
I like it.
Presenters. Yeah, Manus. And I wondered if y'all could fill us in a little bit on where the money is moving, because obviously upfronts, new fronts, people talk about them like they're just like great parties, but this is all about money, people. Like, come on. So, Brendan, I know that you've been following like some quarterly trends in the media marketplace. Like, give us the skinny on like what brands are already looking at that might be guiding their strategy for the new fronts.
Yeah, I will say like this is maybe still the biggest difference between new fronts and upfronts. Like the new front digital budgets are so fluid and change all of the time. It's not quite as much of a like, let's figure out how much we're spending for the rest of the year like we do at the upfronts. But yeah, like I would say TikTok investments are still increasing. Buyers have been telling me that brands feel more comfortable spending there, kind of knowing the future of it and how it will continue to exist in the US. Be real, they never really stopped spending throughout that, but it is something that I feel more comfortable doing. TikTok Shop is obviously a huge area of growth. There's tons of money being spent there. Meta, same boat. I think I talked about this earlier, but there's a lot of attention on Manus right now and how that agent continues to develop.
Are you
You're
laughing
fired
about
from
Manus?
talking about, you're fired
Manus,
from
I
that
can't talk
one.
about Manus anymore.
It has to be the noose if you're going to bring it up.
Yeah.
the news if I've been bringing it up. CTV spend obviously is still growing a lot to be something to keep an eye on. I know that's something that Fox's wants to do in this presentation is kind of like make clear what Tubi is, because it feels like there's a little bit of confusion about like, is this a fast platform? Like, how does this work? How is it different from the other streaming platforms? So there's some work being done there as well.
Yeah. The IAB actually put out a report at the end of last year about creator spend and how it's increasing. I have it pulled up, and nearly half of ad buyers said that creators are now a quote unquote must buy. And also, creator spend was projected to reach 37 billion last year and is growing like 4 times faster than the media industry's overall growth. So I definitely think brands and advertisers will be interested in how they can kind of be directing their creator marketing dollars towards these social platforms at the NewFronts. And the
Mhm.
IAB is also, I think, for the first time doing a creator upfront of their own later this year. So I'm definitely really interested to see what that looks like and how brands are going to be thinking about that.
Is there any sort of flight of budgets away from platforms themselves to individual creators? Like, are these platforms competing with the creators on them for ad budgets?
That's a good question. I do think it's interesting. We have seen sort of this increase in creator upfronts hosted by different companies like Spotter, which is a creator platform. They've been hosting their own kind of upfront over the last couple of years. It just actually took place a few weeks ago here in New York. Um, and they were presenting a lot of the big YouTube creators because they mostly work with YouTubers to a room full of advertisers. So I do think there might be some tension there where the creators are sort of the main draw for a lot of these brands and advertisers, and like the platforms are like, well, what about this? Like, we're kind of hosting you guys, so they kind of want their piece. So I do think it's
Mhm.
like if the creators are sort of what's attracting brands, they might not be necessarily as interested in what the platforms can do for them.
Mhm.
One other thing that actually I forgot to mention in the previous answer is brands are obviously still spending a lot trying to figure out AI search, their AEO strategies, their GEO strategies. How can their spend best be used to benefit those strategies? So, a lot of the platforms that are considered like some of the top citation sources that brands spend with partly to develop relationships with those platforms to talk to them about appearing in AI search and higher results. Like Reddit is going to be having coffee with media buyers. They're going to be around talking to people, even though they're not like technically an official part of the NewFronts. So
Mhm.
it'll be, yeah, I imagine, investments continuing to flow into those types of platforms. It'll be interesting to see if like maybe not next year, does OpenAI eventually get involved in the NewFronts, right now that it kind of has an ad product coming out. So yeah, one other investment angle there.
I would love to hear from both of you one topic or word or something like that that maybe should ping a listener's mind that, like, oh, we're getting into hype zone versus reality zone. Is there one thing from each of you that should be kind of like, ooh, I'm getting spin now?
I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but agentic, probably right. Like it's just so unclear what those tools are and how they differentiate from more popular AI tools that buyers get a lot of use out of. I guess, yeah, I'd say like generally, if you hear the word agentic used, maybe like just listen much more closely to the words that follow that, what the explanation, what this thing actually is and what it can actually do. Yeah.
Yeah. If I were to push you on that, is there anything that, if the word agentic comes up, is there something that we should listen to that would tell us, oh, okay, like they're not really giving us any like substance versus something you would be like, oh, like my spidey sense is tingling?
For me, it's the agentic buying front. Promises of that, like buyers and brands are so sensitive about letting these agents handle their money. I think would like any promises about agentic strategy planning or the ability to like target specific audiences, like that stuff I think has held up. I think if agentic and buying are used in the same sentence, maybe that is particularly where I would pay closer attention.
Mm, okay. Is there one topic that you would love to know more about and think could be like unexpected or something that you see on the fringe that you don't expect would come up?
I don't know about a specific topic. I do know there's some presentations that I have heard there is like way more interest in than I would have expected, I guess. So like,
Oh,
and it's the ones actually that we were not going to, so we're not allowed to. Shame on you, LinkedIn, for not allowing us to go
I know.
to your presentation. But I hear a lot of people talking about LinkedIn's presentation when I just ask buyers like, what are you going to? What are you excited for? I think they are doing that, like that platform is doing a lot of work. And obviously it's kind of got like a handle on the B2B marketing space in a way that no other platform really does. But they're doing a lot of work to beef up their creator offering, get like really unconventional creators on that platform. I just had their
Mm.
CMO actually on the Marketers Brief podcast, or other podcast that you can get to wherever you get your podcasts. And we were chatting about how like athletes are starting to join the platform and sort of become like thought leaders, both to kind of like pursue and talk about their partnerships with brands, but then also kind of talk about like their own brand journey. That's like a presentation I have a pretty close eye on. And I guess like that is maybe reflective of the kind of broader way that creators may be talked about at the kind of event overall.
Mm. Not to stick with LinkedIn too much, but they did just announce an extension of their Brand Link program, which is sort of like how brands can kind of run ads alongside creator or publisher content. So it's a bunch of new series with some new creators like Corporate Natalie. But like in that announcement video, their VP of Marketing Solutions, Matt Dorella, kind of positioned this new program, Top Voices 360, as like an antidote to, he literally said, AI slop. So I'm kind of interested to see like how these social platforms during the presentations are going to kind of reconcile like all their like focus on AI with like their kind of focus on creators, and like if those are in opposition or if they're sort of like complementary. Because I think there is sort of this like, I don't think last year there was as much AI generated content on social platforms as there is this year. So I wonder if the social platforms will be addressing that at all and kind of pitching creators as the solution here.
It's
Yeah.
a really good point, actually, because when I asked LinkedIn's CMO, like, what is the biggest problem all platforms are facing right now, LinkedIn included, she said it was AI content in feeds, people not being able to tell what's real. So they're pushing really hard for like people to verify. And I think LinkedIn's a platform that maybe doesn't deal with it as much, she was saying, because people use their real names, they're attached to businesses and companies. But I'm sure every platform is going to have to talk about that. Parker, I think you actually covered this when you went to Tubi's last year, but like we're kind of seeing the broadcasters start to like really take a close look at the apps for Tubi, for a Peacock, or like stuff like this, and figure out ways basically to like TikTokify it. And so as user generated and AI generated content appears more and more of those in those apps, as they get closer to being kind of like social media to compete with social media. I almost wonder if that's something that they'll have to eventually deal with as well.
Are there any toxic topics this year? Any like things that maybe are in the discussion, in the cultural realm, that you would love to hear from a presenter, but they're probably going to try at all costs to stay away from?
Yeah, I mean, even on the front of TikTok, they haven't really spoken much about whether the new ownership will sort of impact the algorithm and how it works in the US. And I doubt they're going to talk about that at their presentation, even though I would be really interested in hearing about that because they're kind of having to retrain it from scratch on US data. And there have been some complaints over the last couple of months where people are like, oh, TikTok's falling off. Like it's not the same anymore under these new owners. So I would be, if they would address that, I would be very intrigued.
Yeah.
That is a great point, actually, and that's something that buyers are also very much wondering about. It's not stopping them from kind of spending on the platform, but it is something that they are thinking about as they do that, is like how this new algorithm works, and they want to learn more about it. And yeah, it's a great point. I don't think TikTok probably will talk much about that.
Yeah.
They never really have talked about their their algorithm and how it works.
No, it's
Yeah.
definitely under wraps.
Gillian, Brandon, it was such a pleasure having you on today. Garett, your ghost lives on with us, so thank you so much, all of you.
Thank
Make
you
an
for
AI
having us.
version of him next time.
Yeah, exactly. I hope you found that conversation as delightful and fun as I did. If you enjoyed it, consider following Ad Age and liking this video wherever you're watching. I want to thank my guests, Brandon, Gillian, and Garett, and I want to thank you for listening. Again, this is Ad Age Insider, and I'm Parker Heron. I hope you have a great day.